The footsteps always began at exactly 12:14 in the morning. Slow. Heavy. Echoing through the empty third-floor hallway of Blackwood Memorial Hospital. Every single night. At first, the nurses blamed old pipes or exhausted imaginations. Hospitals were full of strange noises after midnight. Machines beeped, elevators moved alone. Air vents rattled unexpectedly, but this sound was different because the footsteps sounded human, and the third floor had been abandoned for almost 15 years. Nobody was supposed to be up there, especially after midnight. Blackwood Memorial stood on the edge of a quiet Pennsylvania town surrounded by tall dead trees and endless fog rolling across the hills at night. The hospital itself was old with narrow hallways, flickering lights, and faded walls, carrying decades of memories most people preferred forgetting. Years earlier, a fire destroyed part of the third floor during a terrible winter storm. Several patients died, too. Nurses disappeared, and after the tragedy, hospital management permanently closed the entire wing. Officially, the floor remained sealed due to structural damage. Unofficially, staff whispered different reasons. Some claimed they saw shadows moving behind the dusty glass windows. Others swore empty wheelchairs rolled slowly through locked corridors. Late at night, most employees avoided discussing it entirely. Especially the older ones. Rachel Carter heard the stories during her first week working night shifts at Blackwood Memorial. 27 years old and recently transferred from Chicago. Rachel considered herself rational. She did not believe in ghosts or paranormal nonsense. Hospitals created stress. Stress created fear. Fear created stories. That was all then on her seventh night shift, she heard the footsteps herself. It happened shortly after midnight, while Rachel updated patient charts at the nurse's station on the second floor. Clunk. 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 The sound echoed faintly above her. Rachel looked up immediately. Another nurse named Maria froze beside the coffee machine. You heard it too, Rachel whispered. Maria slowly nodded without speaking. The footsteps continued. Steady. Deliberate. Like someone walking calmly across the abandoned third-floor hallway directly overhead. Rachel frowned. Maybe maintenance workers. Maria interrupted instantly. There are no maintenance workers up there after dark. The older nurse's face had gone pale. Rachel laughed nervously, trying to lighten the mood. Then probably rats wearing boots. Maria did not smile. At exactly 12:16, the footsteps stopped. Complete silence followed. Rachel expected someone else to explain the noise. Nobody did. The next night it happened again. Exactly 12:14. The same slow footsteps above the ceiling. This time Rachel walked into the hallway, listening carefully while every hair on her arms rose. Clunk. 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 Definitely footsteps. Not pipes. Not machines. Human footsteps. One patient even pressed the call button, asking who was walking upstairs so late. Rachel finally decided to investigate. The following evening before her shift began, she searched hospital records about the third-floor fire. Most files were incomplete. Some pages were missing entirely, but one detail stood out immediately. The fire began on November 17th, 2008. At exactly 12:14 in the morning. The same time the footsteps started every night. Rachel felt cold, suddenly. Then she found something stranger. Two nurses disappeared during evacuation efforts that night. Neither body was ever recovered. One name especially caught her attention. Nurse Eleanor Vale. Age 34. Known for refusing to abandon patients during emergencies. Rachel stared at the black and white employee. Photograph clipped to the report. Something about Eleanor's eyes unsettled her deeply. That night, Rachel approached Dr. Harris, the oldest physician still working at Blackwood Memorial. He had been there during the fire. Did they ever figure out what happened to the missing nurses? She asked carefully. Dr. Harris went silent immediately. After several uncomfortable seconds, he answered quietly. No. Rachel leaned closer. Do you believe the footsteps are connected to them? The old doctor's expression darkened. You are young, Miss Carter, so listen carefully. Some questions are safer, and answers like this. Then he walked away. That only made Rachel more determined. The next night, she made a dangerous decision. At 12:10, she took the old staircase leading toward the sealed third floor. The air grew colder immediately. Dust covered the walls. A heavy metal gate blocked the entrance with faded warning signs hanging crookedly across it. Authorized personnel Unlito na ian Rachel shined her flashlight through the bars. Dark, empty hallway. Broken ceiling lights. Old wheelchairs abandoned. Beneath white sheets. Silence. Then 12:14 arrived. Clunk. Rachel nearly dropped the flashlight. The footsteps echoed somewhere deeper inside the abandoned floor. Slowly approaching. Clunk. 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 Her heart pounded violently. Hello, she called. Nervously. No answer. The footsteps continued. Rachel suddenly realized something terrifying. The sound was coming closer. Then a shadow moved at the far end of the hallway. Tall. Human-shaped. Standing motionless in darkness. Rachel backed away instinctively. The flashlight trembled in her hands. Who is there still? No answer. Then suddenly the shadow disappeared. At the exact same moment, the footsteps stopped. Complete silence returned. Rachel ran downstairs, shaken badly. Maria found her pale and breathless beside the nurse's station. You went upstairs, didn't you? She whispered. Rachel nodded slowly. I saw someone. Maria closed her eyes like hearing confirmation of a nightmare. She already believed. The next evening, Maria finally revealed the story older staff members avoided discussing. During the firepower failed across the hospital, while smoke filled the third floor rapidly. Most staff evacuated immediately, but Nurse Eleanor Vale refused to leave because several elderly patients remained trapped in their rooms. Witnesses saw Eleanor running through smoke, helping patients reach stairwells again and again. She saved at least 7 people. Then part of the ceiling collapsed. After that, nobody ever saw her again. Rachel listened silently, but there was more. Maria lowered her voice. Some survivors claimed they kept hearing footsteps in the smoke even after everyone else escaped. Like someone still walking room to room searching for patients. Rachel felt chills spread across her skin. That night, she could not stop thinking about Eleanor, a nurse so devoted to protecting others she died trying to save strangers, or perhaps never truly left at all. The following week, a violent thunderstorm hit Blackwood Memorial, causing temporary power outages throughout the building. Shortly after midnight emergency, backup systems failed, briefly plunging sections of the hospital into darkness. Panic spread quickly among patients. Rachel rushed through hallways helping calm frightened families, while nurses struggled restoring equipment. Then suddenly she heard it. Again. The footsteps. But this time they were not upstairs. They echoed directly down the second floor hallway. Clunk. 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 Patients noticed. 2. Several doors slowly opened while nervous faces peered outside. Rachel followed the sound carefully through flickering darkness. At the far end of the corridor, she saw a figure wearing an old-fashioned nurse's uniform, illuminated briefly by lightning flashing through nearby windows. The woman stood completely still, then pointed silently toward room 214. Before Rachel could speak, the figure vanished. Room 214. Rachel immediately ran toward it. Inside, an elderly patient named Emma Holloway struggled desperately for breath while his heart monitor malfunctioned during the power outage. The machines had stopped working unnoticed in the chaos. Rachel called for help instantly. Doctors arrived seconds later, stabilizing the patient just in time. Another 2 minutes and he would have died. After the emergency ended, Rachel stood frozen beside the room door because she knew something impossible had just happened. Someone led her there. The next morning, Rachel searched old employee archives again. Eventually, she found a photograph from 2008. Hospital staff records. Nurse Eleanor Vale stood smiling beside several coworkers. Rachel stared at the image in disbelief. It was the same woman she saw during the blackout. Same uniform. Same face. That night, Rachel returned alone to the staircase leading toward the abandoned third floor. The hospital was quiet, almost peaceful. At exactly 12:14, the footsteps began once more. But this time, Rachel did not feel fear. She stepped closer to the metal gate. Thank you, she whispered softly. The footsteps paused. For several seconds, silence filled the hallway. Then, slowly, the footsteps continued again, moving deeper into the darkness of the abandoned floor. Still walking, still checking rooms, still protecting patients after all these years. Rachel smiled sadly, while tears filled her eyes. Some people dedicate their lives to caring for strangers, and perhaps some souls continue long after life itself ends. Months later, Rachel became one of the few nurses unafraid of Blackwood's midnight footsteps. Whenever new staff members asked about the sounds upstairs, she simply answered quietly, "If you hear someone walking after midnight, do not be afraid. It is only Nurse Eleanor making her rounds." And every night at exactly 12:14, the old hospital echoed once more with slow, steady footsteps in the dark, not haunting the living, protecting them.